If you've ever watched an American movie, chances are you've already seen this car. It was chasing criminals through the streets of Los Angeles, parked outside diners in small towns, carrying detectives through New York traffic, waiting at airports as a taxi, or quietly cruising down endless highways somewhere in Texas. Even if you don't know its name, you definitely know its silhouette. For more than a decade, it became one of the most recognizable automobiles ever built. Not because it was the fastest. Not because it was the most luxurious. And certainly not because it was the most technologically advanced. The Ford Crown Victoria became a legend because it earned a reputation that very few cars ever achieve. It became a car people trusted. Police officers trusted it with their lives. Taxi companies trusted it with hundreds of thousands of miles. Families trusted it for cross-country road trips. Mechanics trusted it because it was simple to repair. And drivers trusted it because no matter how hard they pushed it, the Crown Victoria just kept going. Personally, I think that's what makes this car so fascinating. It never tried to impress people with complicated engineering or futuristic technology. It simply did its job better than almost anything else on the road. In today's world, where cars are packed with touchscreens, electronic assistants, and increasingly complex systems, the Crown Victoria feels almost refreshingly honest. It reminds us that sometimes the best engineering isn't about adding more features, it's about building something that refuses to quit. But to understand how the Crown Victoria became an American icon, we have to go back long before police departments made it famous. The story actually begins in the late 1970s, when Ford introduced what would eventually become known as the Panther Platform. At the time, body-on-frame construction was still the standard for large American cars. It was strong, durable, easy to repair, and perfectly suited for the rough roads and long distances that defined much of the United States. While many manufacturers would later abandon this traditional design in favor of lighter unibody construction, Ford continued refining the Panther platform year after year. It became the foundation for three cars that would quietly dominate American roads for decades: the Ford Crown Victoria, the Mercury Grand Marquis, and the Lincoln Town Car. Each served a different audience, but they all shared the same philosophy: rear-wheel drive, V8 power, exceptional durability, and unmatched comfort on long highway journeys. By the mid-1990s, however, the automotive world was changing rapidly. Front-wheel drive had become the industry standard, SUVs were beginning to dominate family driveways, and manufacturers were investing heavily in more modern platforms. Many people believed the era of large American sedans was coming to an end. Yet Ford wasn't ready to give up. In 1998, the company introduced a significantly redesigned Crown Victoria. Although it remained instantly recognizable, nearly every exterior panel had been updated with smoother, more aerodynamic styling. The sharp edges of the previous generation disappeared, replaced by rounded lines that better reflected late 1990s design trends. Underneath the new body, however, the Crown Victoria remained true to its roots. It still rode on the proven Panther platform. It still sent power to the rear wheels. And it still relied on a naturally aspirated V8 engine to move nearly 2 tons of American steel down the road. That engine was Ford's 4.6-liter Modular V8. When it first appeared years earlier, many traditional Ford enthusiasts weren't convinced. It replaced the legendary Windsor small-block V8, and some questioned whether the new overhead cam design could ever match the durability and character of its predecessor. Time would eventually answer that question. The 4.6 Modular wasn't a fire-breathing performance engine, but it quickly earned a reputation for something arguably even more valuable: reliability. Properly maintained examples regularly surpassed 300,000 miles, and many fleet vehicles doubled that number without requiring a complete engine rebuild. It wasn't unusual to find retired taxis or police interceptors showing 500,000 miles on the odometer while still running remarkably well. That kind of longevity didn't happen by accident. Ford engineered the Crown Victoria for constant use. Large cooling systems kept temperatures under control during endless hours of idling. The spacious engine bay made routine maintenance straightforward. Parts were affordable, mechanics knew the platform inside and out, and nearly every component had been tested under conditions far more demanding than the average family would ever experience. Personally, I believe this is where the Crown Victoria truly separated itself from almost every competitor. Plenty of cars can be reliable when they're driven gently. The Crown Victoria was reliable even when its entire life consisted of abuse. It could idle for hours, survive high-speed pursuits, jump curbs, carry heavy equipment in the trunk, and repeat that routine every single day for years. Very few vehicles have ever built such an incredible reputation simply by refusing to brake. And before long, one particular version of the Crown Victoria would become so famous that it would forever change how the world remembered this remarkable American sedan. The words, "Police Interceptor," would soon become legendary. By the early 2000s, the Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptor had become far more than just another police car. It had become the standard by which every other patrol vehicle was judged. Walk into almost any city in America, and chances were you'd find rows of Crown Victorias parked outside police stations, sheriff's offices, state patrol headquarters, and federal buildings. It wasn't just local police who relied on them. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, highway patrol units, airport police, military bases, and countless government agencies all trusted the Crown Victoria to do one thing above everything else: never let them down. And that trust wasn't built through advertising. It was earned over millions of miles on some of the toughest roads in America. One of the biggest reasons for that success was its body-on-frame construction. While most manufacturers had switched to unibody designs to save weight and improve fuel economy, Ford stayed with the traditional approach. For police departments, this decision made perfect sense. After a minor collision, a damaged bumper or body panel could often be repaired without affecting the entire structure of the car, saving departments thousands of dollars in repair costs. It also made the Crown Victoria incredibly durable during the kind of abuse that police vehicles experience every single day. Curbs, potholes, rough roads, high-speed pursuits, constant idling, and heavy equipment barely seemed to bother it. The rear-wheel drive layout also gave officers predictable handling characteristics during aggressive driving, especially compared to many front-wheel drive competitors available at the time. Of course, no car is perfect, and the Crown Victoria wasn't the quickest police vehicle on the road. Its 4.6-liter Modular V8 produced between roughly 220 and 250 horsepower depending on the year and specification, which meant acceleration was respectable rather than breathtaking. But Ford understood something many people overlooked. Police departments didn't need a sports car. They needed a machine capable of running reliably for 10 or even 12 hours a day without complaint. They needed something that could survive endless stop-and-go traffic, long periods of idling, emergency responses, and thousands of full-throttle accelerations over the course of its life. In that environment, consistency mattered far more than outright speed. Personally, I think that's one of the biggest reasons the Crown Victoria became legendary. Modern police cars are unquestionably faster. Today's Dodge Charger Pursuit, Ford Police Interceptor Utility, and Chevrolet Tahoe PPV all outperform the old Crown Vic in almost every measurable category. But performance numbers alone don't explain why so many retired officers still speak about the Crown Victoria with genuine affection. It wasn't just transportation. It became a trusted partner. The steering was predictable, visibility was excellent, the seats remained comfortable during long shifts, and drivers always knew exactly how the car would react. That kind of confidence is difficult to measure with numbers on a specification sheet. The Crown Victoria also found another life outside law enforcement. Taxi companies across New York City, Las Vegas, Chicago, Toronto, and countless other cities adopted it almost immediately. Once again, the reasons were simple. It was spacious, inexpensive to maintain, comfortable for passengers, and capable of accumulating extraordinary mileage without major mechanical failures. Some taxi operators reported engines lasting well beyond 500,000 miles with only routine maintenance, while a few famously exceeded 1 million miles after multiple transmission rebuilds and regular servicing. Few production cars in history have built such an incredible reputation for durability. The Crown Victoria didn't just survive hard work, it seemed to expect it. Its influence also spread far beyond real life. Hollywood turned it into one of the most recognizable vehicles ever to appear on screen. Whether you were watching action films, detective dramas, crime series, or television news, the chances of seeing a Crown Victoria somewhere in the background were almost guaranteed. It became the police car in movies, the taxi in television shows, and one of the defining visual symbols of American streets. Video games reinforced that image even further. Entire generations of gamers chased, or were chased by, Crown Victorias in titles like Need for Speed, Driver, Midnight Club, Grand Theft Auto, and countless racing and police simulators. Even people who have never visited the United States instantly recognize its shape. That's an incredible achievement for a car that was never intended to become a cultural icon. But by the late 2000s, change was becoming impossible to avoid. Safety regulations became stricter, fuel economy standards continued rising, and body-on-frame full-size sedans no longer fit the direction of the automotive industry. In 2011, Ford officially ended production of the Crown Victoria. After more than 3 decades of Panther Platform development and millions of vehicles built, one of America's greatest automotive chapters quietly came to an end. Personally, I think Ford didn't just discontinue a model, They closed the final chapter of a philosophy that had defined American automobiles for generations. A naturally aspirated V8 in the front, power sent to the rear wheels, body-on-frame construction underneath, enough room for 6 adults, and engineering focused on durability rather than complexity. Cars like that simply aren't built anymore. Yet even today, thousands of retired Crown Victorias continue to serve new owners as daily drivers, project cars, collectors' vehicles, and weekend cruisers. Many still wear their original police equipment scars with pride, reminding everyone that this wasn't a car designed to sit in a garage. It was built to work. And perhaps that's exactly why, more than a decade after production ended, the Ford Crown Victoria remains one of the most respected American sedans ever created. The Ford Crown Victoria was never designed to become an icon. It wasn't built to set lap records, win drag races, or show off the latest technology. It was built with a much simpler goal: to work, every single day, no matter what was asked of it. And somehow, that simple philosophy turned it into one of the most legendary American cars ever made. Personally, I think that's why people still love the Crown Victoria today. It represents a time when durability came before complexity, when engineers focused on making a car that could survive decades instead of just impressing buyers in a showroom. Modern police vehicles are faster, safer, and far more advanced, but none of them have quite the same personality. The Crown Victoria earned its reputation the hard way, through millions of miles, countless police pursuits, endless taxi shifts, and years of dependable service on roads across America. It wasn't just another Ford. It became a symbol of an entire generation, a car recognized all over the world even by people who have never driven one. And in my opinion, that's exactly what makes a true automotive legend. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories about the world's most legendary cars. It really helps the channel grow and lets me continue making these deep automotive history documentaries. And now I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think the Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptor was the greatest police car ever built, or is there another legendary patrol car that deserves that title? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.